Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're talking about a book that I was supposed to have brought here on the channel ages ago, or 2 weeks ago to be more specific, but I didn't have time. Many things happened and I couldn't finish the book or obviously record the video. But here I am, I finished, I think not a couple of days ago, probably like 3 or 4 days ago. But I only had the time to stop everything and record the video now. So the video is going up tomorrow. So yes, very busy week. Our car broke down. So our car broke down. We went to Victoria for work. Well, Gabrielle did. I just tagged along. And other things. But it's been crazy. It's been insane. And I don't know how I'm, surviving this month, but that's okay. I'm actually happy and grateful for everything that God does for us and in our lives. And yeah, anyway, let's start talking about the book, because this is not a venting video. It's a book video or telling a story video. Anyway, guys, the book I'm talking about today is this lovely little book called Silas Marner by George Eliot. So I've mentioned before, George Eliot is one of my favorite writers. I love The Mill on the Floss, and other than The Mill on the Floss, I've only read Silas Marner, so I don't know how I say that she's one of my favorite writers, but I just think that she is incredible, amazing. Everything she writes, the way she writes it, her style, I think is the best one I've ever seen. I'm not sure I've ever come across a writer with this kind of writing style that is smart, beautiful, deep, pure, intense, just incredible. She's amazing. I highly recommend George Eliot. And now that I've read Silas Marner, I recommend start with this one instead of The Mill on the Floss. The Mill on the Floss is bigger, definitely bigger, and a bit darker, I'd say, or a lot darker. This one starts darker, but it ends up being so light and sweet and just lovely. It's just a lovely little book, and it's a perfect one for you to start. So Silas Marner was published in 1860, and George Eliot was actually writing some other book, and she stopped, called Romola, I think, about a man in Italy. I honestly didn't really focus that much on. So she was going to rewrite the history of the Italian Renaissance in the form of a historical novel, Romola, set in Florence in the final decade of the 15th century. So she's actually stopped writing this book, this Romola book, because she had this sudden inspiration that I think also is said here on in the introduction. So in Florence on the 21st of May, 1860, George Henry Lewis had an idea. Having left London on 21st March, 3 days after the publication of The Mill on the Floss, he and George Eliot were well into a 3-month tour of the continent, which had taken them from Paris over the Alps to Turin, Genoa, Pisa, Rome for Holy Week, and then south to Naples before returning to Florence. So they were there, just doing some research for the book, but something happened. So like I said, she had this sudden inspiration, and Silas Marner seems to belong to the earlier rural fiction, and yet it cuts across the plans for Romola, on which work had already begun. So it is the key work that enables us to link the early and the late novels. So the early novels would be Adam Beatty, I don't know how to pronounce this, and The Mill on the Floss. Anyway, Middlemarch comes after. So a clue to its significance is to be found in her remark to John Blackwood on 24th February 1861, after she had sent him the first 13 chapters of the novel. It came to me, first of all, quite suddenly. as a sort of legendary tale suggested by my recollection of having once in early childhood seen a linen weaver with a bag on his back. But as my mind dwelt on the subject, I became inclined to a more realistic treatment. So Silas Marner embodies both the legendary tale and its realistic treatment, and this accounts for its ambivalent reception then and now. I loved it. So the story, I said that it was published in 1860. It wasn't. It was published in 1861. I'm sorry, excuse me. But let's get down to the story. So here we have this weaver, this linen weaver called Silas Marner, and he lives in this weird little town, and it's actually more like a village, called Lantern Yard. So it was like a sect. So religious sect of Lantern Yard has developed its own system of belief, a form of Calvinistic dissent in response to the current of industrial energy and Puritan earnestness of a northern city. It's set in England. And he is from this town of Lantern Yard, and he is young and very involved in the community. He has a best friend who is also very involved, and they all go to, it's like a cult sort of thing, or I don't know if that's the right word, but I do know that it kind of gave me the vibe of everyone kind of has control of everyone else's life. So what happens here is that he starts having some health issues. So it's kind of like fits. So he starts having fits and lose consciousness. And people either say that he's being visited by the Holy Spirit, or say that he is being possessed by the devil. And we don't know in the beginning, but probably his best friend is the one who's spreading the news, or the gossip that he is being possessed by the devil. Because then he is betrayed by this friend, and he's wrongly accused of robbery, and his friend set him up, and he is exiled from Lantern Yard. And at first we think, why would his best friend come up with this lie and accuse him, betray him like this? Like, what for? What's the reason? Like, he's just jealous of him, which was the case. He was jealous of Silas, but it was also because he was in love with Silas's fiance. He was very interested in her. So she was already having second thoughts about the engagement because of the lie spread about Silas, that he was being possessed by the devil. And she's already like, rethinking the whole situation, but then breaks up with him, or asks someone else to break up with him after the whole robbery thing is brought to the attention of everyone in the village. So it's very sad. Then we find out that she marries his former best friend, and he is exiled from the village. It broke my heart. To be honest, this part was just too much for me, and I already started the book feeling a bit like I was scared of being hurt. And I think that might be why it took me so long to read this book, because I was scared of it being too sad. Like I said, we've been, struggling with some things, going through some things in our personal lives, and I didn't want any more sadness or anything that would trigger sadness. So I was really enjoying it. Like I said, this writing style is amazing. The story is really good, but I was a bit scared of that. Anyway, he leaves Lantern Yard and he arrives in Raveloe, a small town, but a proper town. And they have a church there. They're Christian, but they are not like the same religion, like this kind of sect, kind of cult religion that he had before. It's, they follow the Bible, obviously. They're Protestants, but it's different for him, and he decides to not go to church anymore. So he completely isolates himself in Raveloe. He works as a linen weaver and he has a lot of clients. So he does have a good life in Raveloe, but he's very isolated. So he has his little cottage and all he does is work on his stuff, his linen stuff. So what we need to know is that other people here in Raveloe are very important for the second part of the novel. So here we have this rich and important family. They're called Cass, so the Cass family. So there are two siblings, two brothers actually. One called Dunstan. He is the youngest, and then the oldest one is Godfrey. So he's very important. Both of them are very important to the story. So Godfrey is a man who is not entirely bad. He has some virtues. He knows what's wrong and what's right, but he is highly suggestible. So he was very influenced by his brother and started doing bad things like get drunk and spend a lot of the money, the family money, his father's money, and go along with his brother's kind of crazy things that he would do. To the point that he was taking money from all of the tenants who lived in the land, like around, actually on their land, and he would not pay his father. He would not bring it to the estate or whatever. He would keep it. Him and his brother Dunsey was the worst one. He was like, there's no way that this one can be saved. I'm sorry. He was just completely gone, taken by evil. But Godfrey is still he still wants to do better. So although Godfrey has something good, he did something horrible. And actually, I am regretting saying this now, that he has some good in him, because how he treats his wife, or his first wife, should I say, is horrific. But back then, in the beginning of the book, he wasn't like a good person. He just had something good, like something that made him want not be bad. So his brother, like I was saying, Dunsey, has dirt on him, basically. So he knows that Godfrey got married to a woman, hidden, like no one knows that he did so, and he has a child with this woman. But he doesn't care about her anymore. He keeps her like in a cottage far, far, far away, and he wants to marry Nancy, the daughter of this also important man in the town. And he just is in love with her and wants to marry her and wants to forget about his former wife. But his brother knows about that, so he is blackmailing him and saying, like, if you don't do this that I'm asking you to do, then I'm going to tell Dad, I'm going to tell Nancy that you're already married and no one is going to want to know or have anything to do with you ever again. And he believes that. He believes his brother, so he does whatever his brother asks of him. So for example, he gives him his horse to be sold. So his brother says, give me your horse, I'll sell it. And then we get the money that we both spent. Actually, the one who spent the money was Dunsey, the money that they took from a tenant and never paid the dad. So he said, oh, give me your horse and then I'll sell your horse, and then we get the money, that we give the money to Dad, and then he'll never know a thing that we did this. However, what happens is that Dunsey goes to sell the horse and ends up getting into an accident, and the horse ends up being killed, like in this fence. It's a horrible scene. Oh my gosh, I still have nightmares thinking about that scene. Dunsey leaves the horse, who was very precious to Godfrey, to die, and he then decides to go back to town walking. Not before he goes through this really small cottage. Whose cottage? Silas' cottage. Why does he go there? Because something very important to the story. Silas like I said, works a lot and he gets paid. So, and he doesn't spend any money, basically. So what happens is he keeps all of the guineas that he receives, all of the money he receives, all the coins, and he keeps it in this box. And everyone knows that he doesn't spend any money and that he makes money working. So everyone kind of knows that he has money saved up. And back then, most people, left the money or kept the money in their house, like under a mattress or something like that. So he has a very special place, hidden place under the wooden floors for this beautiful box where he keeps all of his money. And every single night before dinner, he looks at them. And it's kind of sad. So there's like definitely that sadness to it, that he doesn't have anything else in his life. The only thing that he does have is this box of guineas and coins, golden coins. It's his only possession. It's his world, actually, because he lost church. He doesn't have religion. He lost his best friend. He lost his fiance. Everything he has is this work. And from the work, the only thing that he does, he has the money. So if Silas had been at home when Dunsey was walking by, things I think might have been okay, but the problem was that he wasn't. He was out doing something, I think, something for dinner. I don't remember exactly. I think that he had received something for dinner, like a big piece of meat or something, and then he went out to get, I think, water, and he left the door open because he was going to be really, really quick about it. However, unfortunately, Dunsey went into the house and took the box with him because he knew that Silas had this money, and then he stole it. But then after that, he disappeared. So no one knows where he is, and no one knows that he was the one who stole the money. So Silas, of course, gets back home, sees that the money's not there, and asks for help, goes to town, and says to everyone that his money has disappeared. No one even considers to think that Dunsey was the person involved, not even his brother, which is crazy because his brother knows what he's capable of. But anyway, it's really sad. So this is another moment that I was like so sad and infuriated that someone would do this to him, to this lovely, lovely man who doesn't do anything, bad to anyone ever. So it was really hard, but like I said, the story is really interesting, so you don't want to stop reading even though you're crying your eyes out. But then for every sad, horrible scene, you have a beautiful, full of meaning scene that kind of changes the whole thing. And what happened was that after he brought to the attention of everyone in town that he'd been robbed, he isolates himself even more. And there's a scene where he is at home just being really sad and gloomy about his money. He would do this every night. And I think he was preparing dinner or something, or relaxing after dinner, resting in bed. But then he sees, out of the blue, he sees the money. He sees all the guineas, all of the coins on the floor. And he reaches to touch it. But then they're not golden coins. They're golden locks, golden curls. And it's a baby, not his money. And then he, gets the baby, puts her on his lap, and they have a moment. It's truly beautiful. But he's like, what is happening? There's a baby in my house. He looks and the door is wide open. The baby just came crawling. And the baby keeps saying, mama, mama, mama. And then he says, okay, maybe her mom is somewhere. And then he goes outside in the snow, and there is a woman in the snow. A woman with black hair, dead in the snow. And we, who have been reading the book, know that this woman is Godfrey's wife, the wife who was living far, far away that he didn't want anyone to know about. So she was on her way to a party, a Christmas party. No, not Christmas, a New Year's party at the Squire Cass, so the house of the Cass family. And she was on her way there to tell everyone that she was married to Godfrey, because she was sick and tired of this life of being by herself, completely poor. She was also addicted to opium, I think. And she had a very, very hard life. So what Silas does is he brings the baby to the party, to the house, the squire, and he tells everyone there's a dead woman, I think she's dead at least, in front of my house, and this baby just crawled into my cottage. And he tells everyone that he intends to keep the baby because he sees that as a sign of God, that he lost everything in his life, and as of late, most importantly, his money. And now he has this baby, and he wants to care for the baby and be her father, which is really, really sweet. And everyone says okay. And at the end of the day, the lady was truly dead, unfortunately. And Godfrey is very happy about that because now he can marry Nancy. So years go by. Eppie, who is Silas' daughter, grows up to be a beautiful, beautiful girl, and they have a beautiful relationship together. It's really, really sweet. I don't want to give too many details. You know, it's just, I don't want to give it away. I think the ending is truly beautiful, and what happens here with the development of the characters, Silas, also Godfrey, who becomes a better person under the influence of his wife, Nancy, the new wife whom he marries, who is actually a good person and helps him be better and just leave everything behind. I also forgot to say something very important. Dunsey completely disappears, or maybe I did say it, but he completely disappears, and they find out years and years and years later that he had taken Silas' money. So all that is discovered, but the ending, this last situation that will arise between Godfrey, Nancy, Silas, and Eppie, which you can imagine because Eppie was Godfrey's daughter, is very interesting, and I think that you should read it and see it for yourself. But what a book. It's just so beautiful. It's beautiful, it's sweet, it's just, there's so much kindness here and so much devotion, and it's delicate. If this book is something, it is delicate, especially when it comes to Silas and his life and his relationship with his daughter. It's just truly beautiful. I cried at the ending, actually during as well, and in the beginning. But it might be because I'm over sensitive. But guys, honestly, highly recommend anything by George Eliot, but specifically Silas Marner to start if you haven't read anything of hers. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm sorry that I didn't bring this sooner, but the next books of the challenge, the 6 books for 2025 challenge, I will try to bring sooner. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you very soon.